How often do you need to maintain each different asset? And what do you need to do when it's time to maintain all of those different assets? That's the beauty of what Maximo can store and hold for you, that information. So the preventive maintenance application is the when. When do I need to do this? And the job plans application is the what. Each time that this comes up, what do I need to do? Think about the steps. If a technician walks out to this machine, where do they start? Well, do they need to lock out and tag out anything? Do they start on this side of the machine and work their way around? I think it's very important that we think about when we're creating those job plans, even if it's not a custom build. You may get a manual from the manufacturer that says this is how you maintain this asset, and they may not be in the exact order that a technician would utilize. And so I think it's very helpful at your organization if you're the one entering this information or you're deciding what the specific tasks are that are approved to take care of the different automation, machines at your organization. What are the steps? Thinking through someone that would be working on this, what would their first step be all the way to the last? And sometimes job plans in Maximo could be written so that I start this task here, but then I go on the other side of the machine and do this, and then I come back over here and do this, and then I go back over here and do this, when maybe if they were all grouped together, it would save time. And it's not even, for example, maybe that the technician wouldn't decide to do it like that of what is the most efficient, but then what's in the system doesn't align with their practice. And so that, I believe, kind of causes doubt about the system, or maybe devalues the system in their eyes if they say, hey, this isn't accurate, it's really complicated, I don't do it like that. So getting with the people doing the work and finding out, hey, how can we make this make sense for you? Remember, the job plan is the what, the PM is the when. And if we think about it that way, and then also realizing the PM is kind of like the parent, the job plan is like the child. You can have multiple children to one parent. And so that being said, you can have sequenced job plans that maybe we only do this every 6 months and we only do this every year. You can have the job plan set up accordingly and sequenced so that those are on track and come out when they need to. So let's take a look at first the preventive maintenance application and see a few important things, and then we'll go to job plans as well. So here in preventive maintenance, I've got a draft, just sample PM pulled up here. And so you can see the PM can be named anything that you want it to, but it has to be unique. It can't be the same. Now, there can be a master PM that's kind of like a template, but the PM itself, the individual preventive maintenance record, has to be unique. Now, I think where some confusion sometimes might happen is at an organization, maybe if you set up a bunch of PMs, when really it could be one PM with multiple job plans. And maybe it would make more sense as you get into it, but this, I believe, is very helpful because your PM system could be very cluttered and hard to look up that information, like I say, for audits, and even to keep track of. And so standardizing your naming, I believe, is so important, and realizing that you don't have to have multiple PMs. Maybe you could just have multiple job plans attached to that parent PM. So your PM number has to be unique. You've got your description, your site. This will populate based upon your default insert site in your profile. And so if you're an admin that works in multiple sites, or even someone that's views multiple sites in Maximo, creating the preventive maintenance, it's going to auto-populate that site field based upon what your profile says. So if you want to change where you're creating the PM, you have to go change your profile. So my status is draft. So this is not an active PM, and we'll see that that affects the dates at the bottom. But you can do a PM against a location, against an asset, or against a route. And all of those have their benefits. and possibly limitations. And so that could be covered at a later time in a different course. You can have lead time. When it's calendar, you would put it here, and you could say, hey, I want 30 days lead time, so we've got a month to plan this. Maybe it's calibration. We got to call in an outside vendor. We'd want some lead time so that we've got time to plan before it counts as like the start date, because you're also going to have what's called the finish no later than date. I've got the job plan that's coming up, and that's key. This is kind of like the base job plan if you're creating the PM. But if I go to job plan sequence here at the top, you'll see I've got two job plans. I've got a quarterly and I've got an annual. And so based upon the sequence, this 3 month is going to come out in the first sequence. Then another 3 months will be the second sequence. Another 3 months will be the third. And then at the fourth sequence, I'll have the annual come out. And I could see that sequence here on view sequence on the left side. If I click that. So right now you say, well, wait a minute, why does it say this instead of this here? Why is it only 2 and then the annual? So to answer that question, I'd have to go back to my PM tab, and you'll see that my counter says 1. And so right now we're saying it's already been done once. So the second quarterly, third quarterly, and then the annual. And you can see your sequence here. My work type can be configured. So when this preventive maintenance record generates to a work order, that's the work type that's going to be filled in, and also the status that's going to be filled in. So in this case, it says waiting scheduling. So it wouldn't be approved right away. It would be saying, hey, it's waiting to be scheduled. Last start date, last completion date will be automatically filled in fields. This is in draft, and I imagine as a test record has not been used in a long time. And so that's why those dates are not updated. But earliest next due date here is filled in as well automatically by the system. Your GL account will come from your chart of accounts, so your financial accounting. If you've got those entered in the system, that can be selected here of what the charge or cost needs to be associated with. And your storeroom, from where if you've got any parts that are scheduled as part of this maintenance. You can also add here these personnel items as well. One that might be definitely something that people would want to use would be owner, or work group, supervisor. All of these different things come from the people application. And so that is something you can enter here so that when the work order generates, somebody's already the supervisor or already the owner, or it's already in a work group. And so there's a pool of work orders for that group, and somebody can pull that and do it when they're ready. So lots of things to do here. Kind of a experience tip, I'll say, would be that if you have somebody as the owner, for example, on this preventive maintenance, there is an escalation that will run by the system if you've got it turned on to automatically generate work orders each day or however you've got the frequency set up. If you do that and you've got an owner who ends up becoming inactive in the system because maybe they're no longer with the company, they retired, that work order, this PM, or this preventive maintenance record, if nobody is checking those emails that are getting sent out by the system, if you've got it configured that way, this preventive maintenance record, if that owner is inactive, the system will say the user is inactive and it won't generate the work order. So if you're going to have somebody as the owner specifically, or supervisor, for example, that's why it's so important that you perform checks or you have some kind of process in place for personnel changes so that you can make sure you've changed all of those over. And if there's multiple records, a way that I found to be able to do it as an admin that's quick is using a tool called MxLoader. It's a free tool, very, very helpful. And so Bruno Portalori designed that, and it's been a great benefit as an admin. But I say all that to say, in this personnel side here, if you've got supervisor, owner, it's very important that you are checking if somebody's inactive and if something's not generated, because you could have work that maybe you've got the preventive maintenance record set up correctly, but because it's got an inactive user on there, it would not generate. So it's just something to be aware of. Frequency tab here. You can see I can either have time-based as a calendar or meter-based. And so I've got where I could say the frequency is every 90 days. As a quarterly, I could say every 3 months. And then here is the estimated next due date. This is in draft, so it's not been updated. Seasonal dates. This is helpful, for example, if this type of work is never completed on a Saturday or a Sunday, you could uncheck these boxes and this work order would not generate on a Saturday or Sunday, but would only be a weekday. We can save that. So that is the preventive maintenance.